So I had a very interesting conversation with with a few of you in the last break, which is really great. What I really want to impart today, and I will feel like I've done my job if I've done that, is the power of one. That in Act 1, we've been taught the 100th monkey. We need a critical mass. We have got so far with our consciousness and our awareness and our awakening and our frequency. I am now finding that it's possible for us to just do this individually at a big level or at a small level. So I want, we didn't clap. Is that going to be okay? Okay. So I want to go back over my story with you before we move on. When I took on the New Zealand government, the Australian government, and the pharmaceutical cartel. Right? It was a David and Goliath story. It was reported that the New Zealand government, Australian government, and the pharmaceutical companies invested $18 million to pass that legislation to form a corporation that would regulate natural therapies off the planet. $18 million. My budget was $45,000. Right? This is all documented. It was reported in the Australian, it was reported in, so I'm not making these figures up, it was reported in Australia, it was reported in the New Zealand Herald. These are real life figures. So how can I take on the pharmaceutical cartel, the Australian government, and the New Zealand government with less money, less power, and win? How does that happen? How is that possible? Because a lot of people say, oh, you were being paid for by the pharmaceutical companies, because if you weren't, you'd be dead, right? And the fact of the matter is that I was followed and I'm constantly under surveillance and all that sort of nonsense. It's getting less and less. So that did happen, and at one stage I did fear for my life, but I cleared the template of fear of being assassinated for being an activist or for being somebody who is being outspoken, and that's something that I have to continue to do. I cleared it, because if we clear that, if we clear this fear that we have of being a dissident or being somebody who's outspoken about the world and the way it is and the changes that we want to have, we're creating assassination. We want to take assassination off the drawing board. Remember that screen that's got the patterns and the projectors, then we have to remove it from our own consciousness. So that's why I'm still alive. Because it's not my karma to die. That's not going to happen. So the story is that power exists in you. All I did was take the information and I used it. So I just really want you to get that you are so powerful. You are so powerful. There is so much more that you personally can be doing. And I know we have this idea that we've got to get a lot of people together, and I do that. I still do that. It's like I don't just sit there in my home meditating and sending electrons out. I'm also active, and I'm also speaking. I'm a public speaker, so I'm always getting my 2 cents in wherever I go. So all of those things need to be done, but don't ever underestimate the power of just one person getting in there and deflating the opposition because you know that they're one with you. So when the pharmaceutical cartel is just aspects of myself, they're no longer scary to me. I no longer have them killing me. Why would I do that to myself? When the government of New Zealand and Australia are just aspects of me, they're no longer more powerful than I am. They're just aspects of me, and they're playing the game, and that's what they're doing, and they're playing the game of limitation, and I'll leave them to it, and you'll leave me to my game. Thank you very much. All right? So, whatever game you want to play. So, let's go back to the Dalai Lama. We have to take responsibility. It's not the government's fault that the country is failing. It's not the Illuminati's fault. It's not Monsanto. It's not Bill Gates. These are all aspects of my one self from the one consciousness that has made a decision to experience limitation, separation, and control. To get out of that game, we have to reverse it, to go, well, I no longer want to experience that. I do that as an individual expression, you do that as an individual expression. I no longer want to experience limitation. I want to experience myself as an infinite being that is unlimited in my potential, and that this world is unlimited in its potential, because quantum physicists are now telling me matter exists only as what? Potential. It's potentialities. It's right? So we're assemblers of particles, we're assemblers of atoms, assemblers of electrons according to what we want. So one of the things that really peeves me on Facebook, because I have a lot of activists on Facebook, and I love being informed because I like to watch the news to see how well I'm doing. But what does peeve me is when energy and veracity and anger and all of this energy is going into something that's unjust in the world. It's creating it. It's giving it energy. So we say, don't give it energy, right? But it's more than just not giving it energy. It's like we do have to give it energy, but just the right kind of energy. Give it enlightening energy. So when I look at ISIS, it's like I don't even know if ISIS exists. Who actually believes that there is something out there called Islamic State? I think that's Wag the Dog, right? Absolutely, it's a Wag the Dog movie, yeah. So given the fact that there are people out there that believe that there are people that are shooting each other and what have you, I still look at that and I still send enlightening electrons to it to go, hey brother, wake up, you're shooting yourself. Why would you want to do that? I do that with entities. I do that with aliens. I do that with whatever comes into my space. In fact, I had this big blob sitting on my computer and I was just like having a really bad technical day. And the next thing you know, I see this blob sitting on my computer and I go, what are you doing sitting on my computer? It's like, are you the one that's stopping me from getting online? And then it just kind of like looked back at me like this, and I just saw it as an aspect of myself, and I said, look at you, you're fat, you're ugly, everybody's trying to get rid of you. You know, there's all these clearing practitioners that want to get rid of you. Why would you want to do what you're doing? Why don't you come over to this side? We got good food, it's light, everybody loves each other. You know, I can just have a bit of fun with it. And then all of a sudden it just went, oh, you mean I get to I can choose again? I can choose again? Oh my goodness, I didn't know I had the power of choice. And it's like, yeah, brother, you do have the power of choice. Come over to this side because the food's much better. All right? The food's much better, the ocean's nicer, it's great. And the next thing you know, the whole thing disappeared in light and my computer was working perfectly. So I used to be a clearing practitioner and I used to clear these buggers, and I used to do it from a point of anger because I was really angry. It's like, what the hell are you doing? I don't want this guy, get out of my space. And now I look at them with compassion and I go, you know what? I'm going to help you choose again. I'm going to help you to come on to this side because the food's better. And I'm just inviting you to start doing that yourself. You know, everything that you get a with, go into the grr and dissolve it. Start dissolving the matrices of beliefs that are creating the way the world is today, and plant into it how you want it to be. Because all of you want good things for the world, right? You want everybody to prosper. You want everybody to be able to experience abundance. And that's what Act 2 is. Act 2 isn't all about getting out of this dream of a body and all of a sudden disappearing into consciousness. Because what are you going to do when you're back at consciousness? You're still a creator. You're going to create something else. Right? So this is a good game in town because we've got what? Good food here. We got great food. So Act 2 is all about having enough, choosing not to be seduced by the separation and by the dream and by all of the things that are coming your way, taking responsibility and appreciating what you've created so that you can reverse engineer it and create it the way you want. So we're going to do an exercise now where we're going to walk around and we're going to go, oh my goodness, how awesome am I as a creator? Look at the detail in this. I'm such an awesome creator. I created this, look at it. And start getting into the appreciation. What about this? Wow, this is really amazing. I created this and I'm making it static when I know that it's really just disappearing. I'm awesome. I am so awesome, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that I'm a great creator. So we want to get into our awesomeness, and we want to get into appreciating that this is a creation of yours, so that you can really come from that position of power rather than feeling the victim to what it is that you've created. So we'll give you 3 minutes for that to walk around. I mean, even going up to somebody and going, wow, you're awesome. I created you? Wow. Yeah, how about that? That's amazing. So everybody up on your feet. Energy, energy, energy. Walking around and touch things. Touch things and go, wow, this is amazing. Look at this creation.
I'll get some. Yeah, cool.
I created this. I am so grateful that I have this ability to create. I created the council. How awesome is that? I'm so appreciative. They're giving me an opportunity to wake up and realize that I'm a creator. Okay, and make your way back to the chair that you created. And as you sit down on the chair, say, wow, what an awesome creator I am. I created this chair to sit on so I could feel comfortable. Okay, anybody like to share their experiences? Ladies, back to your chairs. Or not, if you want to go outside and keep gabbing, you can. Yeah, do whatever you want, it's your dream. Who wants to share? Anybody got anything they'd like to share? No, you guys are so shy. Come up the front door.
Well, I'm so awesome I created this moment. I just feel really connected for just being an appreciation of everything that's around me, you know? Yeah, that's it.
Anybody else like to share their experiences of the whole day or that last exercise? Oh, don't be shy. Come through. Please stand back here. Do you want to dissolve that idea? I don't like microphones. Does that limit you? Does the I don't like...
I just feel really empowered and excited that I created this space and it's here and I'm living in it and it's so beautiful and I just think that's really hopeful and awesome.
Who else would like to share? Come on. Who's had experiences today of feeling out of body or expanded? Constantly expanded. Yeah. If you go have a look at yourself in the mirror, most of you have got light pouring out of you. Yeah, that is a good perspective to have because remember all matter exists as potential, so you give it that potential. In reality there is no darkness and there is no light, there is just consciousness and energy. Yeah, and I think it's that whole thing of make lemonade, like if the crack's fallen down on you, just make lemonade out of it. Who else wants to share what they've experienced? Come on. No? Shybies. So in Act 1, Scene 1, we're asleep, and we think that this is all there is. And so we get addicted, and we go and do all sorts of addicted stuff, and then, you know, it's a tragedy. I don't know why bad things happen to me because I'm such a good person. In Act 2, Act 1, Scene 2, you begin to wake up to the fact that you are creating your own reality by the beliefs that you hold, and then behind that, the one consciousness that has decided to experience itself as the opposite. So to transition, remember, into Act 2, we are wanting to transition out of the idea of needing to experience limitation, needing to experience darkness in order to experience light. That's just a decision. Needing to experience conflict or challenges so you can grow. That's also a decision. That's a belief. And those beliefs all happen in Scene 1. When you start coming into Scene 2, Act 2, you don't need to have that anymore to grow. You're an infinite being. You can create from any point of view. You don't have to create from a point of view of disaster or limitation. Got it? Because this whole idea that I need challenges in order to grow is what perpetuates challenges in your life. Now, all these beliefs that we've believed in Scene 1 that keep us in limitation, because that's the point of it. The point of it is to keep you in limitation, but to get out of limitation, we've got to start reversing those ideas and start having ideas of, well, as an infinite being, I can create it any way I want to. And that's Act 2. So in Act 1, consciousness has said, hey, I've got an idea. Why don't I experience limitation, experience myself opposite from what I am, have separation, and just see what's it going to take for me to remember that that's just a game, it's not real, and that I am an infinite being. And then you create this projector in which you put the limiting patterns on and those matrices, and that projects out the reality that we're actually experiencing here as separate bodies. In Act 2, we start to punch through the cloud cover and through the veil. How does it, you guys are growers. Do you know how much power it takes for a seed to get to punch, a lot of power to punch through the soil to come up? It's like, you know, you can't have the yin without the yang. If it's all yin, nothing's going to happen, because yin is only potential. So there's nothing wrong with the word punch, because you need the energy, you need the force of the yang, right, coming up and just punching through. So the way we punch through it, you punch through some of it today. These beliefs they do not want. It's just like, no, I'm not going to hold on to this morphic field of beliefs. No, I'm not going to hold on to limitation. So you're punching through it just by making a strong decision. Not, oh, you know what, I don't want limitation anymore. It's not going to do it. If a seed was under the soil going, oh, you know what, I'd really like to get on the other side, but, oh, you know, whatever's meant to be will be. No, it's intention. This is how we create. We have intention, and then we put power, force, and energy behind it, and then we penetrate and we burst through, and then we have that big opening. So Act 2 is all about lifting the veil, you might want to say it, punching through the cloud cover by questioning everything you believe. Is it just a belief that limits your experience? And as an infinite being with infinite possibilities, do you want to continue to believe that? Or do you want to dissolve it? You want to dissolve it because you want to, yeah. So, awesome. So now what we're doing in Act 2 is we're creating another game. We're organising matter, we're organising atoms to come together the way we would like them to, and we're enlisting and influencing other aspects of ourselves to join us because we've got good food. And we don't want to do this on our own, right? It wouldn't be fun if we didn't have any other aspects of ourselves to do it with. So it's not that we're going to disappear in a poof of smoke going, oh yeah, this form, it doesn't exist and it's just going to disappear. We still have to resolve the issue that we're not 100% sure that we are the creator of all of it. we now know it intellectually, and we've had a little bit of a glimpse of it, and we've had experiences of it, but we're still a little unsure. We're still there with the car payments and the taxes and the but let's start creating it differently. Let's start taking limitation out of the picture. And when you do that, when that's your practice, and that's your practice daily, and if you get together with groups of people, or if you decide you want to get together with me, then you become a quantum game changer, because this is a game that's being played on the planet, and it's a game of limitation. We're reversing it to make it a game of expression, a game of expansion, a game of what? Game of all that good stuff. Does anybody have any questions before we finish up for the day?
Where do you practice this group?
It's online. You phone in either via Skype or FaceTime or phone, and it's online. I have slides that you see it, and we record it, so if you can't make it, you get it. What happens with the group, the Quantum Game Changer group that I'm assembling together, you get a login to go into a members area where there's lots of other trainings that I'm starting to put up there so that you can continue the training, because we just did Act 1, Scene 2. There's lots of other acts and scenes. And also to reinforce that. And then there's a little place where you can every week or every day or every month, when something's really griming you and you get glitched or you feel you type that in there, so that when we get together we know what the themes are that we need to go after and start punching through the belief matrices, so you're free from that. So month on month, you're working on your own issues, you're working on your own emotional triggers so that you can become less emotionally triggered, you're working on your awakening. And simultaneously, we also pick something in the world that we're all griped about, and we start going in there and massively punching through the matrix and shifting that so that we have a different experience. And then we watch the news. And I encourage you to watch the news every now and then and observe it differently. Just make changes just by observing it differently. Any other questions? Yes, Shane. The script for the process, yeah, you know what, that's going to be up when I put these videos together. That'll be up in the free members area, so you'll be able to download that for free, whether you decide to join my Changemaker group or not. And the group's global, so I've got people from all over the world that do it, and it's really powerful. When you've got people, from, I remember I did a healing the day that in Boston, the tanks started coming through the suburbs. Remember that nonsense that went on? And there was a couple of people from Boston there, and they were saying, oh my God, tanks are literally tanks are driving by my home right now. And they were in fear, and we were able to help them lift their fear up. So it's really powerful stuff that you do when you start to work globally with people. It's really awesome. Any other questions? At the moment, I just have one a month, but if the group gets bigger, I split it up. Because I've got people from Europe and people from America. It is always the same day as the week, yeah. And for us, I think it's at 7 o'clock on Wednesday morning. So that people who go to work can do it and go off to work. An hour and a half. So it is a clearing session. And you don't have to stay for the whole hour, because the whole thing is that if you were listening to the recording of this, you would still get the benefit, wouldn't you? Yeah, that's because it's holographic. So that's the way that it works. Yeah. They all get recorded, yeah. So if you miss one or you miss half or you get on late, you can go back and listen to it over again, yeah. There's also a whole lot of recordings that are already there that take you through the process of bursting through beliefs on money, making money by being on purpose, being more visible with your purpose, stepping up and playing a bigger game in the world. So that already exists for you to go in there and start working through those videos to do the clearing. So, any other questions about the day, about the concepts, about anything, program? You all pretty good? How are we doing? Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Are you finishing now? Is that what you're...
We're finishing up, yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about how you deal with health issues.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You know what? I never told that story. Yeah, okay. So here's what happened. When I was 27, I was diagnosed with a blood disease and they didn't know what it was. By the time I turned 31, it turned out to be leukemia. It was during the time when radiotherapy and chemotherapy had only ever extended people's lives for 5 years. Nobody had ever survived the treatment. It's not something I personally would have chose to do anyway. And because I'm just so totally, I don't get the current modern paradigm of medicine makes absolutely no sense to me, so I don't have anything to do with it. So here I am facing the news that I may go in 6 months' time, and I was trying to figure out how to tell my mum. And it was at the point that I realised I have to tell my mum that this has happened to me. And then I just lost the plot. I was just crying and sobbing, and at the point where I couldn't sob anymore, I just got very quiet. My body was still sobbing though, because there was just so much sadness coming through me. And this little voice came up from inside of my heart, and she said, "But I haven't done what I came here to do yet. I don't want to die." And I just lost the plot. Like, I thought I'd hit bottom. And I went further. I went down into the ground, into this hovel, and I was just so devastated. I was crying and crying. And then again, I quietened and I couldn't cry anymore. And the little girl's voice came out and spoke to me again and said, "I want to live." And in that moment, I realised there had to be a way for me to live. If there was something inside of me that had the will to live. And then pure grace just stepped in, and I felt this energy just come down, gently roll me out of bed onto the floor, and I was on my hands and knees, and I do not have a Christian background, but I found myself saying this prayer: "Father, into thy hands I commit my whole spirit. If it is my time to go, then I surrender, take me now." And then I bribed God. And I said, "But if there's still one little thing that I can do that's going to make a difference in this world, then show me the way that I may live." And then I got up and went about my day. I was living in Sydney at the time, in Potts Point, and I went up to King's Cross to get something to eat. And as I was coming back, the matrix started breaking up on me, right? And I started looking like every other local in King's Cross. It was like having a bit of a meltdown. And the next thing you know, I heard this crack, and it felt like my skull was cracking open, and it just went crack. And the next thing you know, my whole head was just pure blazing light, and I just got catapulted out energetically above my body and into pure, what I called at that time, pure mind. And I looked down and I saw the resurrection of Jesus. I saw this, and I saw it as a hologram that had been left in memory. And I went, "Oh, that's what that was about. That whole idea of form, isn't really there." And all of a sudden, he comes into the realization that he's not a body, and then the form disappears. And I saw that. And then I went, "Oh, that's pretty cool. I wonder if that's what's happening to me." So then all of a sudden I started going through all these wormholes in my mind. And I had this beautiful white light, and a lot of people have this experience of this beautiful white light. It was very, very strong. And I looked at it and I associated that with source, creator, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And I was moving towards it, and it was so bright that I started to feel like I was disappearing, and then I became that. And the next thing you know, this voice comes into me and it says, "Where is the cancer?" And I looked down. I couldn't see a body. There was no body there. And I just went, "Oh, there's no body there. So the cancer's not in my body." And then I looked for the world and I go, "Wow, the world's disappeared. There's no world. What's going on here?" And then I just twigged and I went, "Oh, the cancer's an idea in my mind." And as soon as I had that thought, I felt sandwiched right up against this. The idea of death and limitation. And it's like, I pushed right up against it, and I went, "Oh, you mean the idea of death?" is just an idea in my mind. Well, if it's an idea, I can let go of an idea. I don't have to hold on to that idea. And that precise moment, all of a sudden, I started coming back into the awareness of physicality, coming back into my body, coming down through these wormholes. And as I started coming back into the awareness of my body, I saw these silver threads and these gold threads, and I knew that I was resurrecting. I knew that something was happening to me. It was a miracle or a quantum healing, whatever you want to call it. Something was happening to me because I had gotten to the original source of the consciousness of the cancer that I had created for myself. And when that dissolved, everything in my body was just regenerated. And I went back to, I did not go back to the doctor at this stage. I went back to my naturopath to find out where my energy levels were and where my nutritional levels were. And she says, my God, what have you been doing? You have vitamin B through the roof. For a vegetarian, there's so much vitamin B in your body. Have you been eating meat? I went, no. What have you been doing? She said, you've completely remineralized. You've got all these antioxidants. It's like, my goodness. And it's like you've lost a few years as well. And it was from that I took that form as an illusion and we can reorganize the way it looks. I remember right at the start I said I've had these experiences of looking at my moles and just going, what the hell is that? And then the next time I look at them, they're gone. That's the power that we have. So everything starts in consciousness. We know this to be true. This is what quantum scientists are telling us. Everything starts in consciousness. You get back to the matrix of the original consciousness and you dissolve that. And it's no longer a physicality in the body. And the truth of the matter is that after that, I was directed to go and work with somebody to do a whole lot of raw food, to do all of that kind of thing to rebuild my immune system, but haven't had any negative blood tests at all since then. Was diagnosed with melanoma 7 or 8 years ago, and I believe, this is my belief, that happened because I've been living in America for 7 years, and I was believing in the chemtrails were killing me, and I was believing, and it's very hard not to have GMOs when you're in America, and even though I'm a vegetarian, I'm sure it came into my diet somewhere, and I was also drinking diet soda, which is something that I never did. I don't even drink soda, but for a while there, all my friends were drinking it and I was drinking it. So I kind of feel like it was a combination of all of that. And when I went back to have a look at what I needed to do to overcome that, I went, oh my God, if I have to have this quantum experience again and if I have to take all this raw food again, I think I'm going to barf. I just really want to move this at the consciousness level. And the crux of it for me was realizing that I still had a death wish, realizing I still did not want to be here in the world because I looked out at the world and I saw nothing but pain and suffering. I couldn't stand it. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. I do not like what's going on here. I don't want to be a part of it. And I felt like the only way to get out was by killing my body. And when I realized that I was mistaken in my thinking, that began to reverse. And, I've had negative blood tests ever since and doing pretty good ever since. So, yeah. So the moral of the story is that you get to the consciousness and you can clear the physicality because the physicality is an organization of your perceptions and your beliefs. That's all it is. There's a really good movie out at the moment called The Connection. How many of you heard of that movie? The Connection. It's been showing up on the Sunshine Coast where I'm living. This is all stories of people who've had the same kind of experiences as me. People who have had it, there's this girl called Chris Carr. She's a really good person to go and have a look at, KRISSCARR.com. She had tumours in her brain. And she managed to dissolve them with the power of her mind. Chris Carr, KRISSCARR.com. I do that. I mean, I do in my practice, in my coaching program, I help people with that, but I don't work with.
Could I do that for somebody else?
Yeah.
Doing the same thing we did with
Like, how are you a practitioner? Are you?
No. I just
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because what you would be doing is you would be leading them to the point of the consciousness that they created it.
So for a child, what would you do?
That's a toughie because sometimes children, it's almost like you've got to let them develop their ego before you tell them you have no ego. Are you talking about a sick child? I don't know. It's not I'm not a healer, so it's not really my field of expertise. But I definitely, if I had a child that was sick with cancer, I would definitely take them to somebody like a kinesiologist or somebody who does belief work and have that as part of the holistic regime. I'm not a big fan of, I'm a big fan of holistic practices. I'm not a big fan of relying on a carrot stick or relying on thought projection or relying on, it's like, man, if you're facing the end, you try everything. Do it all. Yeah. So I think I would go work with some kind of a practitioner that was skilled in that area. That's what I personally, that's what I would do. Because if it's your child or if it's your grandchild or it's somebody close to you, you're too attached. And then what I would do is, because you've created that child and you've created that sick child at some level, is I would work on myself. Yeah. It's kind of like Ho'oponopono. Have any of you heard of Ho'oponopono? So he changed a lot just by going out there and going, okay, so where is that in me? Change it in me, and then I'm going to see a different reality. Ho'oponopono, Ho'opono, no. But the biggest thing is practice. It's like if you're going to decide to join me, that's awesome. And if not, find somebody else that you can practice with, because this is where the power is, and this is the game. I mean, I think it's the game of the century to be a quantum activist, to be a quantum game changer. And the more you practice, the easier it gets, the more fun stuff happens. Any other questions? Fantastic. So, for those of you who decided you want to join my global task force of change makers, you can see me after and just pass the forms to me, and then I'll tell you how it's going to work and when we're going to start and all that kind of thing. And I'm also going to hang around. What's happening now, Paul? Yep. Great. Awesome. Yeah. So give yourselves a big hand. You've done really well. You've done awesome.
And I think another really beautiful big hand for this amazing angel that's here to share so much light, and she's just going around the world just spreading her light and love. And we have so much gratitude for you. Thank you.
One of the things I was going to say, if any of you feel like you want to get in front of a camera and just give a little bit of a testimonial about what has happened here for you today, that would be really awesome. Yeah.
That's a great idea. Great. Yeah, thank you.